Today's episode is a little different because instead of me just talking for 25 minutes, I am actually going to read some of the best advice our members have ever shared about mindset in Disney World. This all started when a member posted a question just asking for mindset help. And while I gave my advice, I'll be honest, some of the advice that the members gave was better than I ever could have given. This was such a great reminder that sometimes the difference between a laid-back trip and kind of a frantic one could come down to how you feel going into your planning and how that mindset could dictate how the trip feels once you're on it. Hello, and welcome to the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. I'm your host, Dana Stanley, creator of Laid Back Magic. As a mom of 3, I know how tough it can be to find time to plan a Disney World trip that doesn't leave you feeling stressed or overwhelmed. That's why I'm here, to help moms like you create Disney vacations that feel even better than they look on paper. Here, we're not chasing perfection, but creating our next favorite memories. So whether you're brand new to Disney or looking to go deeper into the details, this podcast is your go-to for simple tips, mindset shifts, real-life trip recaps, and expert insights to make your trip magical and manageable. New episodes drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment. Okay, let's dive in. So I'm going to jump right in with Emily's question that she shared to our community inside of Laid Back Magic. So if you don't already know, I have a planning guide that I created that has a private community built right in where anyone can ask questions or get feedback. You can see other people's questions from the past, whether it be for stroller recommendations or Halloween party recommendations, and also trip recaps from members when they get back with pictures and things that they loved, things that they would do differently next time. It's just a wonderful, honestly, very sweet group of people. And I think that's why Emily felt like she could ask this. So I'm going to read to you exactly what she wrote. You know how I always say you don't need new matching tees to have a good time at Disney? For us, it's vintage all the way. In fact, vintage Disney tees are actually my husband's love language. And that's how I became obsessed with the online shop Wits Whimsy. Whitney curates the best secondhand and vintage Disney tees and sweatshirts so you can show up in something comfy, unique, and honestly way cooler than anything you'll find in a gift shop. Her pieces are effortless, sustainable, and my favorite part is I don't have to spend hours scouring the internet for them because she's done it for me. And there's over 300 unique pieces for me to choose from. Wits Whimsy has been such an amazing resource for me when I'm packing for my family of 5 because it's not just stuff for me, but for the dads and kids stuff too. I love knowing I'll find pieces that feel like us. You can check out witswhimsy.com or click the link in the show notes and use the code LAIDBACK to save 15% on your first order. She said, I need a little mindset help here, but first some background. I've been a Walt Disney World Pro, 2016 DCP, which means she went to the Disney College program, but I know 2020 changed it all, and kids will change it all. I'm planning for 2026. I'll have a 1-year-old and a new 3-year-old, first trips for them both, first trip with my husband. So my struggle here is I want to do it all, but how do I keep the trip chill? The battle is the once-in-a-lifetime trip versus we'll do it next time. How do I even go about planning? And I just love this question right off the bat because that's exactly what I hear from so many people, especially moms. And I imagine if you want to picture like an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, and one's telling you to do it all, but the other one is fighting that you don't want your kids to be melting down. You don't want to exhaust anyone or make your husband mad because you're doing too many things and you plan too much. But then back to the other side, you don't want to miss out on anything. Also, she's right. 100% she's right. Kids do change everything about your vacation in truly every way imaginable. And then on top of that, since she has been there, 2020 And just since then, things have changed tremendously, even just from last year. So first, a big pat on the back to Emily for even posing this question, thinking about it at all. And the first thing I told her to do was to immediately fill out the Laid Back Magic journal if she hadn't already, which was in her download library. And I'll tell you why. I made this journal set up for like 4 main things. Page 1 is just all about your family. So you circle the feelings that you want to come home with, and then you can pick your trip pace on this little turtle line between slow and all the way to. Then page 2 are quick prompts that will remind you why you're going. Things like, my vacation will be worthwhile if, or I'll remind myself that blank. It's what I want you to come back to when you're feeling really frazzled and trying to decide on like lightning lanes, or you're awake at 3 a.m. wondering what you should do. This is the page that you can go back to for your why. The third page is like a big bubble map, kind of like a Venn diagram for your family's normal rhythm, the movies that you like, the food that you like, core memories that you've had in the past on other vacations, basically just what makes your family tick. And I want this to help you plan in a way that actually matches your family and not what someone else or even me says is best. The last page is really cute and doesn't really have anything to do with the pre-planning, but I put the last page in as a keepsake for your kids to fill out each night, so you can obviously help them if they're little. So after the park day, they can fill in their favorite ride or like the yummiest thing they ate that day. They can draw a little picture, and it's like this really cute little souvenir when you get home. Even though I have this in the download library for my members, you can download this for free at laidbackmagicway.com/journal, or just click the link in the show notes. And what Emily is struggling with, I think, is the majority of people for so many reasons. Even for us, like, yes, we go to Disney World more than the average person, and usually we're annual pass holders, so we can visit the parks a lot, but we're also not local. We're not going that often. We're not going monthly. I don't visit by myself. So if I am going, I have my kids with me, or I have the kids with me and we're there with family. So no matter how often we go, we're always trying to make everyone happy. And then there's always something new to try or something I want to test. Or now the girls are into something new, or a new dining spot opened. So I have to go over my priorities over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how many times we go or you go, it's still going to be a big deal when you go. It's still a lot of money and a lot of time away from your home and your businesses. So I know getting all of this straight in our minds is really important and should be the first step. So this is where things get really good, because you don't have to listen to my advice anymore for the rest of the episode, because we're going to be hearing from the Laid Back Magic members that now responded to Emily. And first, that was Kristen. She wrote, I grew up going to Walt Disney World because I have family that lives down in Florida. However, we went in 2023 for the first time with a kid, and I hadn't been in probably 15, 20 years at that point. One thing I had to keep reminding myself was that my daughter had zero idea of what all there was to do. And yes, that is such a good point, because it's true. Kids don't know what they're, quote, missing, especially the original question. Her kids were 1 and 3. They really don't know what's going on. They're not reading. They don't see signs. Like my 9-year-old, unfortunately, she knows actually what we're missing when we are missing something. But 99% of the time, kids are not sitting there thinking like, we didn't make it to such and such thing. Like, this day stinks. They're having so much fun doing whatever you're doing. I think of this too when you have a toddler, let's say, and you're home with them, and maybe you were planning to go to the park or the library, something you know that they'd really like, but then something happens. Maybe a sibling is homesick from school, or it's pouring rain, or your car won't start, whatever. And you kind of look over at the toddler and you feel sad for them because you're missing out on something. But then they're just happily playing with stuffed animals or a cardboard box, being totally content at home with you. They had no idea of your plans, and that's something to think about in Disney World too, I think. Then she goes on to say, if we got 3 things done in each park, she thought we did it all. Because I had the knowledge of everything there was to do, I felt like we should do whatever we could, but really she was just so thrilled about every little thing. She still talks about the tiniest little moments, things I never would have thought would stick with her. That right there, that's the entire reason I teach the 3-2-1 method inside my planning program, and that's 3 rides, 2 experiences, and 1 meal for each park day. That's it. You'll always get to do more than that, but the goal isn't, trying to see how much you can pack into one day or how much you get done. It's letting those moments happen that she's talking about. And the only way they can happen is when there's kind of nothing happening. It could be like they're chasing a squirrel or something and they end up loving it. 2 episodes ago, I did a recap of our hurricane trip. And that was truly I thought one of the most stressful trips. And my girls still talk about the day after the hurricane playing with the acorns on the lawn because the boardwalk was just completely trashed with leaves and branches and acorns from the trees. And they loved it. They made little fairy houses with the sticks and had all the acorns in there. That's what they remember. And it was truly, I don't want to say the dumbest thing, but it was the most unplanned, never could expect it thing that they loved. Then another member, Lindsay, chimed in with some more really great advice for her. She said, I'm sure so many other people will chime in because I think this is how many of us ended up here. I used to be a rope drop till park close, no rest day, I'll sleep when I'm dead person. Growing up, we would fly in, do a long weekend, then full park days, no rest day, and went home. And this is where I'm nodding along to this because while I don't have this exact personality that she's referring to, I have a lot of friends that are. I am just the kind of person I've always liked to break in the middle of the day, maybe because I'm so introverted, who knows. But there is a rhythm I found, and that's just from 2 to 4 is a much needed break for me and my family. And I was thinking about this more, so I started doing a little bit of research to kind of prove to you that you should take a break, because I know in just about every culture, there is a type of afternoon slump or break or siesta or afternoon tea, a nap time, whatever you want to call it. And I thought this was really cool. So apparently, cognitive psychologists call the 2 to 4 p.m. dip a refractory period for when your brain is clearing and consolidating memory. But then at 4 to 6 p.m. is when your brain, hormones, and focus all start to peak again. So again, from 2 to 4, there's a dip in your brain and memory. And then from 4 to 6, it starts to come out of the fog and peak up again. And this is also when I think is the best time to head back into the parks. So if you needed more convincing, it's kind of science to take a break. I'm just saying. Lindsay goes on to say that, quote, FOMO is real, and you've been there so many times, worked there, so you really know how to navigate, etc. It doesn't go out the window with kids, but it's in slow motion, so it's a big adjustment. It's hard to look at the clock and be like, wow, I thought we would have been getting on the bus or monorail by now, and no one's eaten, kids aren't dressed, etc. We're going to be so late. But you're not late if you didn't aim to be there for that time anyway. I love that line that she just said. You're not late if you didn't aim to be there for that time anyway. Just thinking that way could rewire your entire morning. Continuing on, she said, Dana has lots of tips on methods, and I think 3-2-1 is extremely helpful. Yes, I agree. Per day, pick 3 rides, 2 experiences, and 1 dining reservation or place that you want to do each day. And you'll definitely do more than 3-2-1, but it'll help you prioritize getting those things in. And okay, Lindsay, I didn't tell her to say that, but obviously I do love it because the 3-2-1 method just works when you need a clear structure in your brain without setting you up for just being disappointed in the long run. To finish up her advice, she said, I think a big shift from going from an adult in the parks to a mom is the experiences. The rides are wonderful and we enjoy them, but sitting down and soaking up the atmosphere with your child, taking time to get a snack, and chilling while you really listen to the music being piped around the park or taking in the smells, irreplaceable, and what I think you remember the most versus the rides. Take a break. Old me would say, another time suck, leave the park. But you have 2 kids. I don't know your usual flow. My kid needs a nap still. And I have successfully got her to conk out in the baby care centers and Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. Try to remind yourself that this trip will probably not be the only trip, and it's easier to digest that you won't be doing all the things you wanted to. There is a next time. A non-stressed out kid and parent are going to have a magical trip versus the overzealous parent who has unrealistic expectations for a place that by a normal person's standards is not relaxing. There's simply just more to do than there's time for. So just really focus on your priorities, be flexible, and don't push yourself or your kids too hard. End quote. That final line, I feel like should be on a t-shirt or something of there's simply more to do than there's time for. And I think if we can all remember that while we're planning, the trip is going to go so much better. So that's today's episode with just all mindset pep talk straight from real moms inside of Laid Back Magic. If you want access to the same park guides, methods, and the community these women are talking about, you can join anytime at the link in the description. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode and it was helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you'd write a quick review. Your reviews help more moms like you find the show, and I read every single one of them. Seriously, thank you in advance. You can find me on Instagram at somewhereworthwhile, and I'd love to hear from you there. DM me if you have any questions about this episode or what you'd like to see in future ones. Until then, keep planning for your next favorite memory, and I'll see you next time.